Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Mornings with Matt podcast. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the power of networking. If you like what you hear and want to hear more, check out our website, morningswithmattp.com. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at morningswithmattp, or follow Matt Parkin on LinkedIn. So today is the first episode of the Mornings with Matt podcast, and I am Vector Wally, your podcast host. I am accompanied by my co-host, Matt Parkin, the founder of Mornings with Matt Career Services. This podcast will cover career coaching, the job industry, and advice for finding your dream job. Now, returning back to today's topic, networking. I think the first question we should start off with is, who should I reach out to when networking?
That's a really good question, Vivek. I think it's important to keep in mind when you're networking, let's assume you're a student, right? That you're talking to people that have done the things that you want to do. So if you're a second year university student, reach out to third and fourth year university students, right? They've probably just gone through the recruiting cycle that you're looking to go through. Maybe they've worked at some of the same companies that you're wanting to work at. And you can go and have those conversations and get any of your silly or dumb questions out of the way. Not that there's any dumb questions, but you're not going to go and talk to a vice president at a company and ask them, how many interns the office hires, right? That's a question that you can either Google or ask a fellow student, and you can save more of your advanced type of questions for more senior people. So I would definitely recommend start off with some students who have been there, done that. Then you can move on to recent grads, hopefully alumni from your school. And then from there, you can dive into talking to some of the hiring managers.
Yeah, definitely. And when talking about networking, people often mention LinkedIn. So do you have any advice regarding that as well and how to use it for networking?
Yeah, I think the big thing with LinkedIn is just that, to actually use it, right? A lot of people make a profile and then never use it. I was the same way. I got LinkedIn after I finished up grade 12. I had a super basic profile, not a lot of info on it. And it sat there pretty empty for the first 2 years of university. And it was when COVID first hit that I was like, okay, I need to get on LinkedIn and actually actively use it, right? And that was for me when I really started to get noticed when applying to jobs, when I started using LinkedIn, right? By creating content on a regular basis, by engaging on other people's posts, right? Because if I post on LinkedIn and you like one of my posts, now everyone in your network is going to see my post. Now everyone in my network is going to see your name, your picture, your headline, and whatever you commented, right? And so we're adding value to each other, but we're also adding value to both of our networks. And so you can see very quickly, even if you only have, let's say 100 connections, if you're engaging on people's posts and you're posting yourself, you're going to very quickly and easily get thousands and thousands of views. And so I think that's the one big benefit of LinkedIn, is getting those eyeballs on you and your content and what you're looking to say. And you also get to meet really great people, right? And so I've created content and gone into a networking session and people are like, oh, Matt Parkin, I've seen your posts on LinkedIn. Or I was talking to a startup. I wanted to reach out about an affiliate marketing deal. And they said, hey, we've seen your content on LinkedIn. We'd love to actually hire you as an intern and come in and work for our team. And so I think there's a lot of great opportunities that can come from LinkedIn. And the way to get started on it is to actually get started and start using it, start engaging.
I did not know LinkedIn was that valuable. So definitely gonna start posting more on LinkedIn after hearing that. And also generally for networking, besides all asking dumb questions, or generally what advice do you have for asking good questions when networking?
Yeah, so I think you want to make sure that they're as personalized as you can, right? So if you're going to someone and you see they worked at company A before joining their current company, right? You can say, hey, can you walk me through your thought process for why you decided to move from one company to the other? Or maybe they started in a finance role and switched over to marketing, right? What was that thought process? Because maybe you as a job seeker are interested in both finance and marketing and you're having a really tough time deciding. And so if you can ask someone else what their thought process was like, then you can kind of hear and see what thinking process they made, what criteria they used to evaluate their decision. And maybe that'll help you make your decision, right? So I think that's one thing. A second thing would be asking things that are within the scope of their role, right? So if you are talking to a recruiter, for example, recruiters are probably actively recruiting for 5, 10, 15, 20 different roles at a time, right? So they're not going to have that in new like day-to-day detail of what that role entails. They're just going to have a high level overview. And so if you're having a conversation with a recruiter, a lot of your questions are going to have to be geared towards the general company culture and different things that the company are doing as a whole. Whereas if you're talking to an individual person on the financial operations team, for example, that's when you can get into asking more financial operation related questions, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind. And in terms of where to think of your questions, I like to use 3 sources, right? So I go on LinkedIn, I'll look at the person's profile, read through their about section, see the different positions they've had. You can also Google a person. So sometimes they'll have been featured in an interview, in an article, maybe they'll have even written one. And so that's when you can say, hey, I saw you wrote this article on the future of blockchain and artificial intelligence. Can you tell me more about that? Or how have you seen blockchain play out with some of the clients you've been working with at your consulting company, right? So Google's another useful avenue for that. And then I think YouTube is one as well, because a lot of companies will sometimes have, day in the life videos of a consultant or of an investment banker. And so you can get a good insight into the roles from those YouTube videos and see if the people you're talking to share those same values.
Yeah, those are all like really great resources. And I really like that you made that differentiation between recruiters and like individuals at the company. That's definitely advice I'll try like implementing in the future as well. Um, and then my next question is like, do you have like any secrets or hacks when it comes to networking?
Yeah, so I think a big thing that really helps you stand out is taking the lead on setting up that call, right? So if you're reaching out to someone to have a conversation and you're asking, hey, when are you free? People don't want to be asked that, right? So you want to say, hey, I'm free on Monday from 2 to 3, Wednesday from 5 to 7, and Friday from 9 to 11. Let me know what section works. And if you can send over your email address, I can send you a calendar invite with a meeting link or a phone number, whatever you prefer, right? And that gives that person tangible steps because now they can go and look at their calendar in those exact slots. They know that you're going to be available and that there's not going to be back and forth of, hey, can you do this time? No, can you do this time? Right. So that really cuts down on the amount of back and forth there is. And it puts something in their calendar, right? Because I've had a lot of people that will reach out to me and say, hey, Matt, like, can we have a chat? Like, let's say it's on Tuesday. And I'll say, yeah, absolutely. Like, does 1 p.m. on Saturday work? Awesome. Can you send me a calendar invite? A lot of times that invite comes in Saturday morning or Friday night. And between the Tuesday and the Friday, I've forgotten that we were going to have that conversation. B, other things have popped up and now I've overscheduled that, right? And so it's really important to send that right away. Don't say, hey, I'm going to send a calendar invite. Okay. And then wait multiple days to do it, right? It takes 30 seconds to do it. Just do it right away. Second thing I would say would be to make sure you're sending thank you notes and follow-up notes. So after you have a conversation with someone, a lot of people will you'll never hear from them again, right? So sending a follow-up note right after being like, thanks so much. Really enjoyed talking about X and Y. And I look forward to staying in touch. Best of luck with, I was talking to some guy, he had to go mattress shopping the next day. So I wished him luck with that, right? Or another day there was someone that was going on a trip, right? So you hope that they have a great trip. Another way that you can include in that follow-up note is to add value to them, right? So going back to that blockchain example, if you're talking to someone who is interested in blockchain, maybe you go and find a blockchain article that you find interesting and send it to them and say, hey, I was reading this. I thought of you, thought you might enjoy it, right? That'll keep you top of mind for them. You're adding value to them. So they're going to positively associate that with your name, your face, and who they know as a person. And it'll bring you positive results. So those are a couple of little tips that I like to use when networking that I think are pretty helpful.
I'm definitely going to start implementing those tips in the future, especially with the Calendly invites because I always forget to send those. And yeah, I think I definitely could work on doing that in the future. And then for our last question, how can I network efficiently?
Yeah, I think it's very easy when you're networking to look at someone's profile for 20 minutes or spend an hour thinking of the questions that you want to ask. But when you break it down, right, if you're applying to 10 companies and you're networking with 2 people at each company, That's 20 conversations, 20 sets of questions you need to come up with, 20 actual conversations that you're having, 20 follow-up notes, 20 calendar invites. So it's a lot that can pile up. And so what I like to do is I like to set strict time limits. So I'll say 15 minutes, go do my research, come up with my 6 to 8 questions. Bam, I'm done. 15 minutes is up. We're moving on. Okay. Now, I've had a lot of networking conversations, so I'm able to do that in 15 minutes. It might take you closer to 20 or 30 when you're starting out, right? So set yourself a benchmark and then slowly try to reduce that so that you're not spending too much time putting into every conversation. And then a second thing would be organization. So setting yourself up with a networking template and tracker to make sure that you're networking enough at one company, right? Because if you're just doing it randomly off the top of your head, you might sit down one week and realize, hey, I've talked to 5 people at CIBC and not a single person at BMO, right? And so you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And so with a networking tracker, you can really record that and say, okay, I've talked to 2 people at this company, time to move on to the next company. If you check out our website, morningswithmattp.com, we have a networking tracker that I've designed, completely free to download. And we've added conditional formatting. So it'll actually flag follow-up dates for you when you want to reply to the person, as well as to say, hey, you've already talked to 5 people at this company, time to move on to the next one. So you can check out that networking tracker. I think would be super helpful. And that would be my big tip in terms of being more efficient with your networking.
Yeah, sounds good. Definitely going to download the networking tracker. But yeah, that concludes our podcast for today. So stay tuned for next week's episode. If you found this episode helpful, we'll love it if you can rate our podcast and share it with a friend. And if you want to learn more, once again, you can check out our website, morningswithmattp.com. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at morningswithmattp, or follow Matt Parkin on LinkedIn.